Hi, welcome to the Joyful House and welcome to Craft Table Talks. My name is Cynthia with Cynthia's Joyful Creations, and I'm glad you're here. Week after week, we are going to learn and explore new things in the craft of crocheting and knitting. I encourage you to ask questions or suggest topics that you would like to discuss or research further. Our time here around the craft table, it is for everyone, beginners and seasoned crafters. I am dedicating this time around the craft table to my sister Missy, who let me know that she was interested in learning how to crochet and knit. So I thank her for inspiring me to share what I can and bring some yarny inspiration and joy to you and all those who want to learn and refresh. So if you're ready, come join me for today's Craft Table Talks. Hi, welcome to our very first Craft Table Talks. Before we jump into today's topic, I wanted to take a few moments of your time, if you will allow me, to give you a brief introduction of what is Craft Table Talks and what can you expect. This time around the craft table is going to be an educational and instructional time together. We will talk about vocabulary and terminology. We will talk about techniques. We'll work through those techniques. We'll talk about stitches. We'll look at old stitches, new stitches, creative stitches, silly stitches, weird stitches. We'll talk about hooks and all the components of hooks. We'll talk about yarn and all the different types of yarn and yarn weights. What is a yarn weight? We'll talk about what hook works best with what yarn. We'll talk about what hook and what yarn works together best for certain projects. And sometimes our educational and instructional time might actually take us away from the craft table and on a field trip. Also, our time together will be based upon the questions you ask and the topics you suggest. But don't worry, if no one asks questions or suggests topics, there will always be content to bring, because even though I am going into my 21st year of working with yarn, I am still very much a student. There is still so much to learn. This craft of crocheting is changing and evolving every day. Now, most of our content will be focused around crocheting, but we will at times do the same thing with knitting that we've done with crocheting. But most of our content is more for those that are learning to crochet. But since my sister, who inspired me to even start this Craft Table Talks, wants to learn how to do both, I do want to make sure that I'm bringing in components of both crafts and how to develop those skills in order to successfully do both. Now, our time together will be weekly, and we will upload videos. I will upload videos every Wednesday for Craft Table Talks. I'm looking at the educational segments to be anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. The instructional ones will be anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, but there might be an occasional time we go an hour long, especially if we're working on a difficult technique or learning something fun like how to make a granny square. But nonetheless, all of our time together here at Craft Table Talks will be educational and instructional. And I will make sure that we go through it slow so everyone can successfully master each and every skill. We'll look at accessories that you may or may not need for the craft, but for the most part, all you'll ever really need is a hook and some yarn and how to make them dance. How to make them dance and create fiberistic, magical romance. Okay, on Craft Table Talks, every week we'll have two sections. We'll start off with what will be called Table Topic, and that will be the topic that we're discussing that week. Then we'll also have something called Table Chatter, and that will be where I give you a word or a question to respond to in the comment of these videos. And if you do, I want to reward you. I have something on the channel called Tea Party Giveaway Will. Yes, We do tea parties on the channel. We do them every Thursday with the exception of the first Thursday of the month. Those Thursdays, I take personal time for myself to just have fun crocheting or work on pulling things together and regrouping from last month to getting ready to start into the brand new month and making sure that I have everything on topic, on target, ready to go for that brand new month. But anyway, we have this tea party giveaway wheel, and if you respond and participate in table chatter, then you will get an entry on that giveaway wheel. Well, that wraps up this introduction, so if you are ready, let's jump into today's Craft Table Talk topic. Today we're going to be talking about what is crochet. Now, I'm going to ask you for a little bit of patience because I know you are eager to put that hook and that yarn in your hands and make them dance. But I feel like before we can do that, there are some things that are going to be very important for you to know and kind of have tucked under your belt to make you even better at picking up the skills and learning how to make this craft work. So I ask that you bear with me. Today we're going to talk about what is crochet, and then next week we're going to take a look at hooks, and then the week after that we're going to take a look at some yarn, and then after that we will finally put that hook and that yarn together and we will begin to dance. So if you're ready, let's talk about what is crochet. As I shared before, I am still just as much a student of all of this craft as you are. And who knows, maybe you're even more seasoned than I am. But I will do my due diligence every week to really research the topic and make sure that I am bringing you the best content possible. With that being said, I will have to rely on notes, so I hope that you will give me that grace week after week. So, shall we dive into what is crochet? Crochet is a needlework technique for creating fabric, garments, or handcrafts by interlocking loops of yarn and thread using a single hook needle known as a crochet hook. It is derived from the French word for hook, and it differs from knitting because each stitch is completed before the next stitch begins. Also, in crochet, you have a single hook, where in knitting, you have two needles. Now, let's talk about the aspects of crochet. First off, the method. A single hook is used to draw loops through other loops, creating a chain-like, sturdy, or lacy structure. Most crochet involves one live stitch at a time, making it structurally stable and easy to pause or fix if a mistake is made. Like that, yep. The components of crochet is it requires only a hook, which is made out of either metal, aluminum, wood, bamboo, or plastic, and then your fiber, which is your yarn or your thread. Most projects are built from some basic fundamental stitches. There is the chain. It is known as CH in patterns, and this is your basic starting point for almost all your projects. Then you have the single crochet, and it is known as SC in patterns, and it creates a dense, tight fabric. Then you have your double crochet, and it is a taller, more flexible stitch that is often used in blankets and clothing. And then you have what's called a half double crochet. It's a combination between that single and that double. So it's a little bit more relaxed than the single, but not quite as tall as the double. And then you have what is called a slip stitch. and this is typically used to join or finish the edges of projects. Many people find that it's easier to learn how to crochet than to knit because you only have to manage one stitch at a time. Now let's talk about the origin of crochet. Where did crochet come from and where did it start? Where did it all begin? Well, the term, first off, the word crochet, again, as we talked about earlier, is a French word meaning small hook, and it began in the 19th century. The usage of it was to make clothing, blankets, hats, scarves, mittens, socks, toys, which is known as amigurumi, and home decor. Fabric quality. Crocheted fabric is generally thicker and sturdier than knitted fabric, making it excellent for items that need to hold their shape, like baskets or amigurumi toys. Beyond crafting, crochet is frequently utilized as a therapeutic, meditative hobby that can improve the motor skills of people and relieve stress. People love crochet for its mental health benefits, such as stress relief and just mindfulness. They like it for the self-expression. They like it because they can do things that are unique and customizable in the idea of fashion. It is sustainable. What does that mean? It means that we use the resources efficiently without compromising future generations. It also ensures a communitative atmosphere that is not only resilient, but inclusive. That's right. The art of crocheting is inclusive. It is for anyone and everyone. And then there's the social aesthetic feel that is fueled by platforms like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram that offer a creative and community-driven hobby with endless modern possibilities from clothes to toys that are all made accessible through online tutorials. All right, now that we've talked about what is crochet, how it got started, where it derived from, and what are some of the benefits of it, now let's talk about some key reasons to why crochet is popular. We already mentioned mental wellness. The repetitive motion of crochet is meditative. It reduces anxiety, it reduces stress, and it helps us when we have that digital burnout with our phones and our TVs and our computers. It offers a calming, hands-on escape. Then there's the slow fashion and the sustainability. It promotes and allows us to make unique, personalized, and environmentally friendly items. Then there is self-expression and customization. Crochet allows for creating one-of-a-kind clothing, accessories, and decor that reflect personal style that is unlike any mass production. Then there's the accessibility via social media. We have platforms like TikTok and YouTube that provide easy-to-follow tutorials and inspiration, making it easy to learn. And that is something that I am hoping that the goal of Craft Table Talks will help with, as well as bring joy. Community and connection, one of my favorites. The whole reason that I even began my crochet channel to start with 6 years ago. Because it fosters a sense of community, allowing crafters like you and I to share our ideas, to share our experience, to work through difficult things, to navigate through color swatches and what stitch to use, and just getting excited about the process. It allows us an opportunity to connect online and offline. Then there's the sense of accomplishment. Completing a project, no greater sense of accomplishment. Look at what you've done. Look at what you've made. From simple stuffed animals like amigurumi to complex garments, to home decor, to organizational things like baskets, all the way to things that are fun and whimsical like keychains and coasters. It's a tangible feeling of accomplishment and usefulness. And then the last reason why crochet is so popular is there's a modern twist on a tradition that has been around for a long time. People are inventing and reinventing this craft with contemporary designs, making a historically older hobby relevant and cool. If you are someone that often struggles with staying focused or your mind is constantly racing, then crochet might just be the soothing tool that you're looking for. Beyond it being a creative outlet, it's a gentle, rhythmic craft that can quiet an overactive mind and sparkle joy in your life. In fact, many people with ADHD have discovered that crocheting can help them stay grounded, productive, and calm. All right, so now let's talk about what country is most famous for crocheting. Now, these are just fun little facts now. We've done most of our educational stuff for today, but we wanted to just bring in a little bit of fun today and what countries really dig crocheting and get into it? Well, crochet's origin are ancient and global. The roots in China, South Africa, and Egypt is where it really began, but it has modernized and developed a form in Europe, like France, Italy, and England, and it's even gained mass popularity through Ireland for their Irish crochet lace that they developed during the famine, and Victorian England. And then Japan has a strong tradition in making amigurumi, especially stuffed dolls. But today, it is globally popular, with strong followings in the US, UK, Australia, and South America, but has a particularly rich history and deep cultural tie to Ireland, Japan, and China. So let's talk about China for a moment. China has been doing crochet for a long time, so it's considered an ancient hobby there. They began crocheting dolls during the Shang Dynasty. That was between 1600 and 1046 BCE, and it suggests early forms of the craft. Then if we move over to Italy and France, this modern craft emerged in the 1500s as what they called nun's lace in Italy and crochet lace in France. In Ireland, it became world famous for its intricate Irish crochet lace, which is a vital cottage industry during the 19th century famine that they had, and it gained royal endorsement. Yes, crochet gained royal endorsement from Queen Victoria, which made it even more popular in Ireland. All right, and then Japan, known for its amigurumi. The art of small crocheted stuffed dolls were influenced by Chinese needlework traditions. And then we get to the United States and the United Kingdom. They have a large active crochet community, they have guilds, and they also have long histories with the craft. All right, just to give you another little informative little information that we will dive into a little bit further and deeper in another craft table talks is when you talk about the US and you talk about the United Kingdom, their terminology is actually different. So one stitch may mean something in the United States and mean something completely different in the United Kingdom. But we will talk about that at another time. But I just wanted to mention that, especially if you are already diving into the craft and you're trying to learn things, make sure you're checking those instructions and that you're either knowingly knowing that you're doing the stitches US style or United Kingdom style. For example, a single crochet in the US is actually considered a double crochet in the United Kingdom. So you want to make sure that you are following the pattern as needed versus US terms to United Kingdom terms. Okay, but again, we'll jump into that in another segment. The oldest known crochet pattern was printed in 1824 in a Dutch magazine called Penelope. And I thought that was another fun little whimsical fact that you might be interested in. So as we round up today, is crocheting a talent or a skill? Crocheting is fundamentally a skill that anyone can learn. Anyone and everyone can learn and develop through practice, like cooking or driving. But it can evolve into a talent through dedicated effort, creativity, and intuition, allowing for unique designs and artistic expression beyond simple patterns. A pattern in crochet or knitting is just like a recipe in a cookbook. It's a guideline to follow, but you can always throw in a dash of this, a pinch of that, and make it your own. While basic stitches are learned, true mastery involves developing a creative vision, understanding the materials, and perfecting techniques that kind of then begin to blur the line between what is a learned ability and an innate aptitude. So really, crocheting, it is a skill, but it is also a talent. And either way, the more you do it, the more creative and crafty you become. So finally, what is a person who crochets? What are they called? Well, someone who crochets is most commonly referred to as a crocheter, similar to how someone who knits is referred to as a knitter. But there are many fun alternatives of that title in our crafting world. So let's look at those real quick. So we've got crocheter. That is our standard descriptive term of someone who crochets. You have the term yarny. Yarny is a popular informal term for anyone that is involved with yarn crafts, including crocheters. Then you have hooker. Yes, I said hooker. This is a fun, informal nickname within the crochet community, though some do find it offensive, so it's best used within the right group and the right atmosphere. Then there's fiber artist. I love that terminology. I think I actually like referring to myself as a fiber artist. But this terminology is used for those who create unique or professional artistic pieces. Then there is crafter. This is a general term for someone who makes things by hand. And then there are two other terms that are contextual terms. The first one is crochet artist, and this highlights someone who creates unique or artistic crochet work. And then you have crochet commuter. I'm also a crochet commuter, and you can probably figure out what that name means just by itself. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it is someone who always has a project with them on the go. I never leave the house. It is a very rare occasion for me to leave the house without a crochet project in hand, in tow. So while crocheter is the most direct answer, the best term often depends on the context and on the crafters. Well, this does conclude our craft table talks for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you are excited about coming back next week and seeing what is going to be next. And every week after that, as we start building upon these terms, vocabulary, stitches, and different techniques, and learn how to do this together. And then, who knows, maybe Craft Table Talks will expand and we'll go from the basics to actually working on a project together. But all in due time, my friends. Let's take it step by step, one at a time. Before we head out, I would like to introduce you to the second part of Craft Table Talks, and that is table chatter. This is where I told you I would give you a word or a question every week for you to comment on in the comments below. So your table chatter this week is... Thank you for joining me once again for this very first episode of Craft Table Talks. I hope you enjoyed this going forward. And as we like to say here in the Joyful House, be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, make your own joyful creations, and be the joy in everything you do. And I'll see you next week.